The question I asked once before is, can the Blackmagic Pocket 4K take stills? Now, what I did was I ran the best way to take stills for what I did, which was action photography for wildlife. Now, the reason that I did it the way I did it was, meaning I shoot it at 120 frames per second, and I then take stills off of that. I shoot with a high shutter rate, and that allows me to get some pristine shots. Now, can it actually take stills on its own, just, you know, pressing and holding? And yes, it does. It actually has a little button up here at the top. So pressing this little button and holding it down, usually with a fingernail. Trying to use your finger is really difficult. So you're not exactly sure. Like even there, I'm pressing it and I'm not getting anything yet. I have to, there it goes. So you have to press really hard if you're using the pad of your finger, or you just take your nail and you push the nail down in. That works much better. And in fact, what I'll do is I will do a quick focus here on her hand and take a still, so you can see that. So there. So if you have a tripod, it works really well because you can press that and the camera won't shake, won't move, and you'll be fine. On these stabilizers, as you know, a stabilizer, if you put something on here, it works to stabilize in the other direction. So working stills on this is really not an easy thing to do unless you're mounted on a tripod. So as you can see, let me set this up here over on this side so you can see what I'm looking at. Okay, so what you're going to see here on the screen is exactly when this starts coming into play. So I'm going to do a quick focus on that. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on the lens that you've got. Right now I've got the Panasonic 25mm 1.7 lens on there. We're setting up here, you can see a 1.7 aperture, a shutter speed of 120. That way I can get rid of any blurring and so forth. But you'll see it captures a really nice depth of field, blur. And to do that, again, I have to press this button, so I have to kind of figure out, because I've got it on a stabilizer. If I had this on a tripod, this would not be a problem. But because I'm on a stabilizer, I got to figure out my button pressing is going to move it some. How do I compensate for that? There we go. That little indicator you're going to see right underneath the power says that I've taken a photo. So we're going to, there it is. And it's a raw photo. It's really actually quite high quality. So I'm going to bring this up and we're going to refocus on something else. We'll look back here. There we go. That's actually a really nice quick focus. And I'm going to take another photo there. Press in and press. There we go. That's one of those things that you have to remember is if you're not really pressing hard on that, it's wishful thinking you're going to get the right photo when you were trying to take the picture. You've got to press it hard. You've got to make sure that shows up. And if you don't, then it becomes a problem. Now I'm going to go back into here at another depth here, and we're going to take a look at, do this. Right now I'm at 3200 ISO. I'm going to turn that down to 400 and we'll see what we can do. I'm going to bring this to 60 and still at 1.7. And we've got the same focus. The focus hasn't changed, but now it's on ISO 400. And I'm going to take a still. There we go. So let me readjust my position here. I'm going to adjust focus on this. They're fly-by-wire, these Panasonic ones, so if I go fast, it'll zoom to there. If I go fast, it'll go back out, and you can see that fine line. With practice, you can actually get this fairly accurate. On a tripod, you'll have less movement. Let's try the middle one. Not bad. So we'll take a shot there. So that's what the focus by wire is. It's not like a mechanical thing. It's basically something telling the computer inside to turn the motor a certain amount. And like I said, with practice, you can get fairly accurate with that. What I'm going to do is we're on 2.6K. If I go up to like 4, and let's go Q0, DCI, you can see this has changed now. We get a lot more space in here, and I'm going to rack focus. Let's go far away. So we'll see how the photos differ. And we'll take a high res there. And the quick to the weight up in front for the small rig weight. There. And I will just take some video of it as well, so we can see the difference as it runs between. Okay. And so that's running at a CFast card. So we're running at constant quality Q0, which is the highest quality at 4K DCI. So that's your cinema quality. And that gives us that wider view for the lens. Whichever lens you happen to do, it pulls it back, uses the full range of the sensor, and you get to play within that field. They're all taken at RAW. It's really surprising because I've taken photos that I'll show you in a little bit. Initially it comes out where it looks all blown out and everything else, but the sensor captures everything, and so you can bring out all the details and the colors and everything else just in Photoshop, pull it up in there and use it automatically saves it as a DNG file, so you open that up as raw photo and you can make all those adjustments right then and there. It actually captures some beautiful images. So when I'm shooting at the 4K DCI, you get the largest image that your camera's going to take. So that's 4,000 something, forget what it is, I'll post it right here. Versus if you're shooting at the 1920 by 1080, that's going to get you a still image that is 1920 by 1080. So you have to remember that. So if you're taking stills, you want to set the camera at the highest resolution possible to take your stills. A lot of people will say, you know, expose to the right. For cameras that don't have such a wide dynamic range for their exposure and for their filming, then yeah, shooting to the right is probably a good idea. Again, it really depends on your scene and whether or not you care that something has its highlights blown out. So if I'm focusing on like these images here on this table, do I care that the background is blown out if I catch that in the corner of the screen? No, not at all. So I merely expose for what the subject is. Think of it that way. With a camera that shoots RAW, like B-RAW footage here, you have so much play, so much leeway that you can really bring out these details in whatever part of the image that is your subject. And as long as you focus on, okay, what's my subject? What am I looking at? What do I want the audience to look at? Then it really doesn't matter sometimes if you blow out highlights or if some shadows are too dark or, you know, completely black and you can't see some details. What is your subject? So always remember that. And if you can do that, then it makes it easier in your post-production, and it also makes it easier when you're setting up your shots. Because if you're all worried about that, well, I need to get that lighthouse 3 miles away, really bright white, I need that to be, you know, exposed properly when you're shooting somebody here, you know, 5 feet in front of you. So think about that, and you don't have to worry too much later on in post and go crazy trying to get an Area Alexa that'll do a lot more dynamic range for $70,000. Take the camera you've got, think about your subject, what you're going to actually want in frame for people to look at, and then play with it. You got to shoot with all the different types of lenses in different types of settings. And some people will say take one lens and max it out, figure it out, and that does work really well. That means max out all of the locations that you can possibly shoot it in, all the different types of lighting conditions that it'll be in, the different types of subjects that you may want in your scene, because sometimes you're shooting something that has really bright corners or catches specular highlights too much and maybe produces a flare. You have to consider all that. Then you figure out, well, what does my lens do in that case? What does my camera do in that case? But you're really not going to go wrong if you get a camera that can shoot raw footage, and stills or not, because then you have so much more to play with. Stuff that you thought you had lost and weren't able to bring out details, you can actually do. So if you like this, please press the thumbs up and subscribe if you can. Thank you.